Oh my god! Okay, it's happening! Everybody stay calm! Stay calm! Wait! Everybody calm down!
You're not reading that wrong. Ubisoft are finally addressing the 20-second meta by making changes to Jaeger, Wamai, Ash, and a bunch of other operators. But what's got me even more excited and hopeful than these changes is what some of the devs have been saying over on Twitter to do with Operation Neon Dawn and some of the new game health changes, as they're calling them. My point being is that even without the new operator Aranai or Aruni and the reworked Skyscraper, Year 5 Season 4 Operation Neon Dawn is shaping up to be potentially one of the best seasons we've had in a long old time. And whether you're a competitive player or just a casual fan, there's a lot for you to be excited for, so let's jump into it. Before we dive into the Year 5 Season 4 patch notes, if you do enjoy my content, please consider dropping a thumbs up on today's video, subscribing and ringing that notification bell down below. And if you think your friends would enjoy my content, feel free to share my channel with them as well. Now, back to your regularly scheduled programming. So myself and I'm sure most of your favorite content creators have made countless videos about the abysmal utility-centric 20-second meta that we've had for the past few seasons, especially in competitive play. But even inside of the higher elo of ranked, Wamai and Smoke with a secondary shield plus Jaeger ADSs and Wamai discs, Maestro bubbles and all the rest are still a potent problem. It's just that generally ranked players don't really care about dealing with utility and they'd rather just run it down. But thankfully Ubisoft has finally come up with some balancing changes for these problematic operators that don't involve removing an ACOG or changing their gun. So first of all, and probably the biggest change that Ubisoft are going for, is changing up how Jaeger's ADS works. Jaeger is a vanilla operator. He was in the game at its inception and has been pretty much unchanged since that time. So the fact that they're willing to change his gadget now is proof they understand our problems and they're willing to address them. So where before each of his 3 ADSs could catch 2 throwables each, so you could catch 6 projectiles total, they can now catch an infinite amount of projectiles. But once the ADS is activated and catches something, it gets placed on a 10-second cooldown, meaning that to clear out a defender's position that's guarded by an ADS, instead of needing to burn it with 2 flashbangs before being able to bypass the ADS, now if you wanted to, you can burn the ADS with 1 projectile, like a frag grenade, and the second projectile will make it through. So any operator with throwables can clear an ADS and then clear whatever utility they're trying to destroy. Or you can work with a teammate to use 1 flashbang and 1 explosive or what have you. This change will hopefully make it so that Jaeger's ADSs are less potent and therefore reduce the amount of time and effort it takes to clear defenders' setups. However, that's not the only change being made to try and solve the 20-second meta. In fact, they're making quite a significant change to how Jaeger and Wamai interact together. So now if you're playing Jaeger and Wamai, you won't be able to just stack all of your utility in the same place to eat up all the attacker's projectiles. Because with the new change, if a projectile is in range of any catching device, so an ADS or a magnet, the device will activate. So say you place a Wamai magnet next to an ADS, 1 projectile will activate and burn both those gadgets. This is a change that I'm slightly more wary of, as it may make holding some positions substantially more difficult, like holding Yellow Stairs on Consulate or Blue Bunker on Oregon. We will of course have to see how this change actually affects things, but in general I think it's a pretty reasonable change to counteract how much utility the attackers will need to bring in order to break through a defense setup. And as a final note regarding these meta-impacting changes, both Wamai and Valkyrie are now losing the deployable shield in place of impact grenades, which will heavily cut down on the amount of bulletproof utility that the attackers have to clear and require other defenders to bring those valuable shields where needed. Other than these defender changes, we're also seeing 2 quite important changes for the attackers. The first being Ash losing her flash grenades in favor of a Claymore. Now, she also has her breaching charge as her secondary gadget, which is what I would imagine most people are going to run now. And as an added bonus for losing her flash grenades, she also gets an extra breaching round in her primary gadget, so you now have 3. Now, your gut reaction may be that this is a big nerf to Ash because she no longer has that ability to just run and gun, which is obviously what she's mainly used for in ranked. Whereas in competitive play, I think it's not super out of the ordinary to say that Ash is currently one of the most support-oriented operators, and that she hasn't been a primary fragger in quite some time. The reason being that Ash just simply has more utility than other attackers to burn through the defender's gadgets. Ashe currently has 3 flashbangs and 2 breaching rounds, meaning she can theoretically clear 2 full ADSs and destroy one piece of bulletproof utility, like a shield or a maestro bubble, whereas no one else on attack can do that. This is why I believe her new change to gain breach charges and a 3rd breaching round will be good, as it helps bring Ashe more in line with her current place in the meta as a support character. The breach charges will balance her similarly to how Zofia works, meaning that depending on how you want to attack, you won't necessarily need to bring a sledge or a buck for soft destruction, because you can bring both Ashe and Zof and you get the explosives with your primary gadget and then the breach charges to perform vertical destruction, because combined they'll have 5 explosives to clear any shields, maestro bubbles, banshees, or what have you. Then the last major change coming Year 5 Season 4 is a slight rework to Hibana's X-Kairos launcher. With the new update, players, when using the launcher, will be able to choose between 3 different firing modes. They'll either be able to choose to fire 2, 4, or 6 pellets, whereas now Hibana has 3 shots of 6 pellets each that she can shoot. With the new update, she has a pool of 18 total pellets that she can shoot. So if you wanted to make 9 1x2 holes or 4 2x2 holes, you could. The reason behind this change is so that Hibana has more of a distinct place amongst the various hard breaches, whereas at the moment Hibana is generally used to open up reinforced hatches. She will obviously still be primarily used for that job, except she can now save back some of her wasted X-Kairos pellets because she doesn't need to waste the extra 2 per hatch. Because if you didn't know, Hibana only actually needs 4 pellets to explode in order to open a reinforced hatch, meaning that with the new update you could either open 4 hatches or you could open up 3 hatches and still have a full 6 pellets to open up a line of sight, making her a lot stronger on a map like Clubhouse. If you're attacking Church and Arsenal, you can open up all 3 hatches and still have enough pellets to open up a line of sight through the church wall. Basically, this new change to Hibana allows her to be a lot more of a flexible breacher than she currently is, diversifying her a bit more from Thermite or Ace, giving her her own place in the meta. So that about rounds up the major operator and potential meta changes, but these aren't even what I'm most excited for about Operation Neon Dawn. Ubisoft are deploying some extremely welcome quality of life changes, the first of which is probably my favourite change coming with the new season. Now, it's not perfect, but it is a start. Ubisoft are finally toning down the muffled sound effect when you are taken down to low health. This is by far one of the most annoying quality of life issues that players can experience. In Rainbow Six, your ability to hear audio all around you is one of the most crucial aspects of gameplay, and when you are forcibly deafened because you took an unfavourable gunfight, it is incredibly frustrating because it cuts off one of your primary ways of gathering information on your opponent. If you're being pushed by a player and drop below 25 or 30 health, your sound becomes incredibly muffled, barring you from hearing whatever your opponent is doing. So the fact that Ubi are finally addressing this issue is fantastic. Finally, the last quality of life update coming with Operation Neon Dawn is that Ubisoft are removing the inconsistent haze that is caused by explosions on every map. So when you use a breach charge on a surface or use an Ashe charge, the explosion causes a fog-like haze that can obscure vision quite a lot, particularly on maps with darker rooms like Astro on Villa or Piano on Cathay. Something about the lighting on these maps interact awfully with this explosion haze, making the level of vision obstruction different depending on the map and the room. So thankfully, Ubisoft has taken the move to just remove the haze altogether, which makes life a lot nicer because, as I mentioned before, anything that obscures the player's ability that isn't a direct attack like a Zofia stun or a flashbang is incredibly frustrating because it can feel like you're fighting the game more than you're fighting the other players. While all these updates and changes are seemingly pretty fantastic though, I do have to give a lot of props to Mello, a game designer for Rainbow Six, on Twitter. The day the patch notes were released, he took to Twitter to explain in detail a lot of the design and balancing choices. For example, he explained that to do with the Jaeger and Wamai interaction, one projectile can potentially burn both a magnet and an ADS if they're in close proximity. However, 2 catching devices of the same type won't interact with each other. So 2 magnets won't interact on one projectile, and 2 ADSs won't either. This means that you can still stack ADSs together or magnets together, but you couldn't necessarily stack the 2 together. Mello also explained in detail a bunch of information around the new operator Aranai, and some of these smaller changes like the muffled sound and so on. The reason this has me excited, and I'm so gassed about this communication, is because communication is absolutely essential. We all know Siege is having a bit of a rough time at the moment, and that's not helped by the radio silence from the Ubisoft devs. So when the devs can actually come to Twitter or Reddit or wherever and have an open dialogue with the community about potential balancing changes, new operators, maps, what have you. It makes the community feel like they're actually involved with their game. It allows the community to understand Ubisoft's point of view. Now, we won't always agree with them, but still, the clear and open dialogue is very welcome and appreciated. So to wrap up, and I know we all say this before every new season, but I am genuinely excited and hopeful for the next season and the future of Siege. Fingers crossed that we'll finally break out of this 20-second utility dump meta that we're in, and that we'll start to see some more variety brought back into both the attackers and defenders lineups, because teams won't be forced into bringing 1,000 explosives and 9 million flash grenades. So hopefully we'll see more creativity and in general just more interesting gameplay, at least on the competitive side of things. I shouldn't imagine ranked will be too terribly different, but even still the Jaeger and Ash changes will spice things up, as well as the new skyscraper rework, which by the way I am working on a map guide for, so look out for that in the next week or two. Other than that, that wraps up today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, then make sure to leave a rating down below. As well, if you do enjoy the content I create, please consider subscribing and ringing that notification bell. And if you think your friends might enjoy my content or learn a thing or two from my videos, feel free to share my channel with them as well. And if you want some more of my face after this video, I stream over on Twitch every few days, so be sure to go on over there and drop a follow. And finally, feel free to join our community Discord. It's full of friendly faces from the community where you can play games, share cool in-game drops, and just chat about whatever. If any of the aforementioned things are interesting at all, you can, as always, find links in the description down below. And as always, until next time.